All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a worldview that makes a pretty bold claim that all the chaos you see out there isn't random. Not at all. In fact, it's a map. We're going to learn how to read it, and honestly, it might just change how you look at everything. And this line right here, this is kind of the key to the whole thing. The idea is really simple when you think about it. What if the truth isn't something you have to go find? What if it's already there, written all around us, just covered in a little dust, and all we have to do is swipe it away? So, first up, we have to get our heads around this core concept of a grand illusion. The idea that the reality we experience every day has been shaped by systems designed specifically to confuse us, to divide us, and to keep us distracted. The source material basically says it's like we're living in the Matrix, that our society is built on these artificial constructs, these illusions, that have one single purpose: to hide a powerful, unifying truth, and to stop us from ever realizing just how connected we all truly are. And this isn't some abstract theory. We're talking about everyday stuff, cheering for your favorite sports team, identifying with a political party. The argument here is that these aren't natural. They're manufactured divisions, created to funnel all our energy into fighting each other instead of working together. So how does this manipulation actually work? Well, the source coins a pretty interesting term for it: Disnification. It's this idea that our view of the world is constantly being curated. It's about taking something that might be monstrous and making it seem magical, putting a wholesome, sanitized filter over a harsh reality so we never see what's really going on. Now, to show this in action, the source zeroes in on the year 1993, calling it a silence alarm. It takes these events, which seem totally unrelated, right? Politics, finance, entertainment, and presents them as a moment where these different structures of confusion allegedly intersected out in the open. Okay, so if the world really is some kind of grand illusion, how would you even begin to notice? Well, according to this worldview, you don't start by looking for some global conspiracy. Nope. It starts with you. It's a shift from the big picture to the small one, from the macro to the micro. It all begins with this deeply personal story, this feeling of just not fitting in. Being a kid who's a dreamer, whose mind wanders, only to find that the systems around you, like school, see that creativity as a problem that needs to be fixed. They demand conformity. And this is where that personal experience becomes a direct clash with the system. The source frames being medicated not as a form of help, but as an attempt to suppress a person's very essence, to medicate away their nature, and get them stuck in a cycle of chemical conformity. And this personal crucible wasn't just about external forces. It was also about deep internal trauma. This is a really raw example, where the painful loss of a loved one gets twisted into this source of immense guilt, a feeling that you somehow caused it, a dark power that shaped your reality for years. And right here, this is the pivot, the big turning point for this entire way of thinking. It's a question that reframes all that pain, all that trauma, all that confusion. What if those wounds, the ones from the system and the ones from inside, what if they aren't a burden? What if they're actually the keys? That single question changes everything, and it leads to the solution that this worldview proposes. Stop fighting the world out there. The real journey to find the truth, it's an inward one. The temple, the answers, they're all within you. Okay, now we're going to dive a little deeper into some more of the esoteric ideas. At the heart of this internal journey is a concept called the sacred secretion. It's described as this process, both biological and spiritual, where a vital essence is created in your brain, travels down your spine, and produces a kind of spiritual seed of enlightenment. And what's fascinating is how this journey is literally mapped onto our own bodies. The 33 vertebrae of the spine, that's seen as a sacred pilgrimage. The pineal and pituitary glands are even given these symbolic names, Joseph and Mary, and are seen as the parents of this internal Christ seed. And this is absolutely crucial to understanding this whole worldview. It takes famous religious stories and reinterprets them as roadmaps for an internal battle. So the Pharaoh isn't some historical king, it's your own inner doubt. And the Red Sea isn't a body of water, it's the overwhelming sea of your own emotions that you have to learn how to part. So let's say you have this huge internal revelation. What then? How does that actually change the way you move through the external world? Well, it gives you a totally new rhythm for living, a new methodology. The source describes this new way of living with a really unique phrase: boom, bap, hip-hop, bebop. Now, this isn't about music, not really. It's a philosophy. It's about taking a solid, foundational truth and fusing it with your own creative ability to improvise and adapt. Let's break that down. Think of boom bap. That's the simple, raw, steady drum beat. That's your foundation, your unshakable truth. Then you've got bebop. That's the complex, masterful saxophone solo you play over the top. That's your creative, free-form response to whatever the world throws at you. And all of this leads us to the final synthesis, the point where the whole journey comes together. It's that incredible moment when you look at all the chaos of the world and you no longer see an obstacle, you see the map. This quote really brings us full circle, doesn't it? The source argues that the entire point of this massively complicated, amazing, overwhelming world, this grand illusion, is to do one thing: make us forget our own power, to distract us from the fact that we're the ones creating our own reality. So this final comparison really sets up the ultimate point. You've got the street, that's all the chaos, the conflict, these structures of confusion, and then you have the wilderness, that quiet, natural order of things. Now, most people think you have to escape the street to find the wilderness. But, and this is the ultimate realization, they're not separate. The sacred pattern of the wilderness isn't something you find by escaping the chaos. It's an underlying truth that exists within it. The goal isn't to run from the noise, but to learn to hear the harmony that's hidden right inside of it. And so we end right here with his final provocative thought. It's a question that flips the whole problem on its head. What if the very systems designed to confuse us, the divisions, the distractions, what if they aren't just an obstacle to overcome? What if they're actually the key? What if the obstacle is the path?